Hello, my name's James from 2GVS, Two Gamers Versus. And I have decided to make a little bit of a rant about something. Now, I've just recently finished playing Assassin's Creed Mirage after putting it off for a while. I got Black Flag resynced, which is quite fantastic. Finished everything on that, got the platinum for it, and decided to jump back to a previous one that I hadn't finished. Fortunately, that meant going to Mirage. Now, the issue I have with this is that I had put it off several times because it just wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy it. I'll tell you why. So, have you heard the term nothing burger? Like it's just a nothing burger. Burger with nothing on it. I would go a step further than that. Now, I was talking to Curtis about this, and we jokingly came up with a different term, a nothing falafel. An exotic sounding name, but relatively bland. And the issue with this game is, it is bland. It is nothing. I couldn't... Yeah, I platinumed it. I've done everything. I did the extra Valley of Memory edition that they gave for free. I will add. Very good. You can take it or leave it, honestly. It's nothing major. But the whole point of this was to follow Basim. Basim was a spoiler-ish, an ally turned sort of antagonist in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Because the whole point of Valhalla was to delve more into the whole sage story side of things. And again, that wasn't amazing. Something about Vikings, and it was set in Viking era England as well, and Ireland and France. Again, Valhalla was just big open areas of just fields, really. Wasn't great, wasn't terrible, it was just too big. Like Odyssey. Odyssey was interesting. It was Greek mythos, Sparta versus Athens sort of side of it, the constant wars that are going on. That going for it in a way, but Valhalla did not. At least I didn't feel it anyway. And I've finished everything in that as well. But with Basim, he came into it as an assassin from a different bureau. Came over with a protege of his own to help. Well, he asked for help looking for something. Turns out he was looking for you, who was a sage. Odin. Now, sages in the Assassin's Creed world are essentially constant reincarnations of the same people. Now, like with Black Flag did it first, where you had the sage Bartholomew Roberts. And usually the telltale sign of a sage is the different coloured eyes. And his whole story was that he'd figured out he was a sage, and he was taking previous memories from his past lives, because the reincarnation passes the memories on when you realise it, and then acquiring more knowledge in that area to pass on to the next one, so the next one knows more to be able to do more about it. And what Black Flag did, the original Black Flag did, was have Sage being the modern era as well, so it passed on to the modern era. It was the same, exact same face, exact same different eye colour, exact same attitude. It just passed on. And the whole point of Basim was that he was a sage, but it driven him mad in a way, where you later find out that your village leader guy, your best friend, your shield brother in a way, and Basim, Eivor, all three of them, were all sages. There was too many going on, honestly. But your ally, your shield brother, was like the sage of Tyr from Norse mythos. You were sage of Odin, and Basim was the sage of Loki. And you have little instances through Valhalla where you go back to Odin's time, and sort of discover a little bit more about it. It gets passed on because they're not really Norse gods. They are the ones who came before with those names, who passed it on, and the stories enveloped into it. The mechanism that passed on their sage essence, they ended up calling it the World Tree, and then mythos happened, and so on and so forth. But we didn't really have much of a story for Basim. It sort of appeared, and then towards the end of the game, it was like, haha, I'm against you. But then they released Mirage to explain his story a bit more. But it doesn't. I can't stress this enough. I finished it the other day, so it's still kind of fresh in my mind. It explains nothing. Not a thing. Not a point about it. He has been tormented by these nightmares of some sort of djinn following him, but at the end, you conquer it. Was the djinn his past lives? Was it something? Doesn't get explained. You have your friend following you around the entire time. This woman who's like a fellow thief from his earlier days, but then catches up with him when he starts to grow up and become an assassin, and keeps trying to, what I felt like was just mess with his head. He's going down this sort of righteous path of being a better person, and she's like, no, you are who you are, stop trying to mess with yourself. And then it turns out that she is just a part of his imagination, but then also isn't, but then is also to do with this machine to help him get back to. I was like, what? If he had a twin brother and it turned out that was just his psyche, that would have made more sense. But who is this woman? And it doesn't fully explain it, because then it's part of him. Then she disappears. Why? Nothing. You go through it with your mentor, who is this woman who just sounds like she chain smoked for the last 40 years. And she, towards the end of it, because the order of the ancients who you're taking out, the last one tells you that you're something special. There's something in this last chamber you're trying to get to, which will explain it. And then she kills the person before they get a chance to explain it, so you get pissed off with your mentor, and your mentor's like, no, ignore it, follow me, I'm in charge. And then Basim's like, no, you're trying to control me, I want to find out anyway. Then you fight her, and you beat her, and then she's somehow annoyed at you because she tried to control you and you resisted, and you found out that you're a sage somehow, because that never gets mentioned. You just find a contraption which is like a bed. You open it and you're shocked because you see the girl you thought was real. Turns out she's imaginative, but then you see her in this bed thing, and then she's not in the bed thing, and then she's next to you, and it's like, what? There's no what? This is really, really badly written ending. Really badly written ending. And then this happens in a segment where you have to walk through an Animus-esque sort of landscape of just the whole memories thing. This recently happened, that recently happened. Oh, this makes sense. It doesn't. It doesn't make sense. I'm going to clarify that right now. The whole game leading up to this point was pointless. All of it was unnecessary. The whole build-up of him becoming an assassin was unnecessary. The only things that were actually poignant were the last assassination, when she tells you there's something secret, going into the chamber at the end, and that's it. Everything else was unnecessary. Then you get to the ending. There's a cutscene where you're talking to the friend, and she's like, time for me to go, and he's like, oh, I'm never going to see you again. Am I going to be alone? No, you're never alone. And then they both dissolve, and then he wakes up, and he comes out I was almost interested, because there was a point where he comes out of the chamber at the end of it all, after the big kerfuffle and the big mystery solved. His words are literally, how long have I been in there? And I thought, oh my god, he could have been there 100 years. That'd have been pretty cool. No, he's been there for maybe an hour or so, and he comes out. His mentor's Roshan is his mentor. she's still alive, even though you stabbed her in the chest. You come out to all the other assassins who have been outside, sort of like, you know, waiting for you, I guess, after they've been desolated by all the angry people who weren't there at the end. She quits, your mentor quits, and then you, like, mockingly call the other guy mentor while looking at her as if, like, there's like a big gap missing in the story. Big gap. And don't get me wrong, the shorter game dynamic is better. Like, I prefer this sort of length of game. The 300-hour friggin' countrywide roam around collectathon thing. I'm done with that sort of stuff. I'm done with it. It's too much. Like Assassin's Creed 2, like, you had several cities. It was fun. Origins, Assassin's Creed Origins, okay, was the peak of it because it was smaller than Odyssey. It was big enough to roam around. It was interesting that the whole, like, it was structured with just so much passion. And it's been a bit sort of, and then this one has just been, it has been, it's not a waste of time. I won't say that much. It's not, I won't go that far. Okay, it still tries to add something. The additional edition, the DLC, the Valley of Memory, explains more about Basim's father, which I feel like should have been before all this. But you find out through that DLC that Basim's mother was from foreign land, from somewhere north of Baghdad, which is where this is set. So that possibly pushes the idea that she is from Europe, and the whole the sage side of the timeline has come from her. And that explains why Loki ended up in the Middle East. He came from the Middle East to Viking people to reclaim his throne or whatever. And this is annoying. This is really annoying because the ending of Valhalla was interesting. Like the whole, like, what's her name? The person you play as in modern day Valhalla. Oh, she's got kidney failure or something. She has to keep hooking herself up to this dialysis in between using animus, otherwise she'll get ill. And then Cassandra passes on. Oh, at the end of Odyssey, Cassandra passed on the staff just so she could live forever. Then in this one, she finds the grave of Eivor. Something's going on with the world, because when you go back to modern day, there's like tremors and stuff, and there's weird things going on, and I like that idea. I like that dynamic. I was really interested. You're in a cabin in the mountains, and you're just trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And if I remember correctly, Sean, Rebecca, I think, are in the cabin with you. And the end when what's her name? The woman you play as, when she finds the chamber to go into, and she finds the body of Basim hooked up to this this machine. She gets like tricked into going to it by him, being welcomed to like check out all this information, everything that's going on, welcome to this sort of stuff, and then he tricks her to get hooked into it, and he gets dropped out of it. And when he gets dropped out, because he's been in there for like what, a good 1,500 years, he'll land on the staff that she dropped, but then he becomes the next immortal. How he planned it, that's what I want to know. That's the interesting part of like how he figured out that she was the holder of it, not Cassandra, after a couple thousand years. Yeah, it's explained. And then he then returns to the cabin, saying that she's gone. He's here now. He's from a different era, but he understands it because he's been in this machine for God knows how long, gathering all this information. And she's now in the machine with another entity. The other entity is Desmond. My take. It's never confirmed, but it's voiced by Nolan North, so come on. Yeah, that's where he went. That's where his consciousness went. When he touched the orb at the end of 3, died. His body died, but his consciousness got transferred into the ones that came before's mega computer that's inside the Earth. So he's there, just calculating everything, trying to figure out how to stop the end of the world over and over again. And now she's there with him, so they're doing it together, and that's interesting. That was so interesting. I loved that ending. Game was so. That ending was good. This ending was nothing. There was nothing there. It was like I was watching the cutscene. I sat on the sofa watching the cutscene, and then the credits started rolling. And I was like, "What? Have I missed something? Where's the rest of it?" And then it ends, and he comes out the cave, and then he just carries on being an assassin, but now with a bitterness in his voice. It explained nothing. I mean, for most of the game, like a lot of the time, with the annoying part is because of the area that it's based in. Because obviously it's an Arabic-based country, town, city, whatever it's called. They're all Arabic names. And because of that, because I am not Arabic, I cannot distinguish between the names of the languages. So I can't remember any character's name apart from Basim, Roshan, and Nahim, the girl's name, I think. I can't distinguish it, and I don't speak Arabic. And the annoying part, what I noticed as well, was that with previous games, because there's no modern day level design in this, it's all set in the past. But in previous games, like with Assassin's Creed 2, even the first one, it explains how, in the dialogue and the lore and that stuff, but the Animus sometimes struggles with the language. So with Ezio, he's talking, he'll occasionally throw an Italian word mid-sentence. And I'll explain with the subtitles, it'll bracket it what it actually means. Because that's a slip in the Animus. It's kind of translate everything in real time as you're playing it, and sometimes a word will come through. With this, there's no added explanation for that. And they speak Arabic a lot more than just the occasional word. A lot of the stuff you have to do, I don't know what these words are. I don't know who these people are, and they keep referring to such and such, and this person and that person. I have no idea, because the language is quite throaty. And don't get me wrong, a friend of mine, an Egyptian friend of mine, talked to him about the language and stuff and how to pronounce the words properly. He said I do quite well with it when it comes to certain words, but speaking it as a full language, because I've heard him talk on the phone, it's impressive, but it's terrifying at the same time. How it's a difficult language to learn, I'll tell you that much. But for this, I said to Curtis, because he asked me out of 10, I said a 4 out of 10. The combat was okay. Assassination was alright. The Phantom Assassin ability I didn't use until post-game because I didn't need it. Throwing knives instead of range weapon stuff, that was fun. To calculate distance and fall, as you throw it'll fall further. I like them. That was an okay addition. More control. The bird is back again. Same with Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla. There's not much else to it, really. With the previous ones, like I said, Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, all had a step of mythicalness to it. You fight the gods coming out of the floor in Odyssey. In Origins. In Odyssey, you fight Medusa, and you go to Atlantis. Valhalla, you are literally Odin. You go to Valheim and Valheim and this sort of stuff. This one, there's none of that addition to it, and this feels like, how Rogue was a sort of copy of Black Flag. This feels like a sort of downgraded copy of Origins. Yeah, I'm just getting this off my chest because that was a disappointing end to it, honestly. That left me feeling a bit fed up, I guess. We'll be going through Shadows some point, finishing that off. Like I said, finished Black Flag Resynced. That was very good. Or a few things. I'll get to that in a different video. And I'm going back through the original Black Flag multiplayer to finish that one off as well, because it is a slog. Whew. Anyway, the last point I will make about this game, because there's so many things I can go on about. So many things I can go on about, but the last thing I will point out for this is that, okay? There's not a single Mirage in the whole game. It would have been a 5 out of 10 if that was the case. Oh. Last point. Separate point. Did you know the Grand Theft Auto 4 PS3 servers are still up? Now you do.